Good morning, everyone, and welcome. You are listening to WCEG Network. We are the worldwide community empowerment group where we speak life into the community. Log on to WCEGtalkradio.com. Watch us live on your smart TV, Roku, cable channel, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. I am attorney Melanie LaGrone, and I am your host of Beyond the Border for about the next 30 to 45 minutes, where we are going to talk about all things immigration. Subscribe free to our YouTube channel at WCEG Network, like us on Facebook and Instagram, connect with us on LinkedIn, TikTok, and Threads, and download our free WCEG mobile apps. Alexa, play WCEG Talk Radio. Listen to WCEG on any of our 12 podcast distribution platforms. And last but not least, our disclaimer. The topics and opinions are those of the show host and guest and not of WCEG Network. And thank you all so much for your continued support. So, yay, it's Saturday morning. I am so excited to be here this morning. The weather is fabulous and the sun is shining. And I have the beautiful and the talented Miss Elizabeth G. She is an attorney. She's a business immigration attorney here in Atlanta, Georgia. And today, what we wanted to do is we wanted to talk to you all about more of the business employment type of visas and how to invest in the US. Because obviously we know we got elections going on, we got a lot of heat going on, and there's this huge misconception that immigrants come to the US, they take our jobs, they don't pay taxes, they don't contribute to the economy, and things like that. And we kind of want to dispel some of those myths, because it's absolutely not true. And in fact, there are ways that immigrants, foreign nationals, can come from other countries, invest in the United States, bring their talents and invest in the United States and help our economy, create jobs, create different businesses, help expand communities, and all of that. And that is Elizabeth's, that is her specialty. Because as you all know, I handle family law. Family immigration, not family law. Let's get that right. Family immigration and, removal defense and things like that. But she is the expert when it comes to actually business. So I would love for my guest, Miss Elizabeth G., to introduce herself, and tell us about you, your practice, and then I'll start asking you some questions, girl.
Awesome. Thank you. Good morning. And thank you so much for WCEG Network and Mel for hosting me today. My name is Elizabeth G. I'm the founder and CEO of the G Law Firm. And we specialize in business or employment visas where we help companies or employers hire the best and brightest regardless of borders and nationality. So as Mel said, my specialty is helping businesses. It's also helping investors, and we're going to talk about that more in a minute. But I love working with business owners, entrepreneurs, and people who have that need to create, and their desire is to create their business and their vision in the United States, investing their time, money, and assets, not only for their own purpose, but for also improving the economy as well as the lives of everyone concerned in the United States. So thank you so much for having me today.
Oh, you are very welcome. Thank you for being on. Okay, let's get into it. So let's start with, I usually get a lot of questions. So we're going to kind of start with if you're in the United States versus if you're out the United States. Okay. So I get a lot of questions, in my practice where people will ask, they'll say something like, I'm already in the US. Okay. They might be here on maybe a student visa. Okay. An F1 or something like that.
Mhm.
Or they might actually just be here undocumented with no status at all. And they ask about employers being able to sponsor them. Is that a thing? And if it is a thing, how does it work? Because in my mind, I'm thinking, well, if you're if you've maybe crossed the border, illegally and you're here, how would somebody be able to pick you up, and employ you, even if you've got talent, here in the US, if
Right.
that's a possibility? What are your thoughts?
Yeah. So I get those questions a lot too, because there are so many employers who, especially nowadays, value the virtues that we're all looking for as employers, right? So somebody who's hardworking, not only about talent and what they can give to the organization, but somebody who's like a culture fit, a values fit. There's so many factors, right, when we're deciding on who to hire and who to include as a member of our team. And, sometimes when they realize there's an immigration issue, they seek me out and they ask questions like, okay, I really like this guy. I want to do whatever it takes. And I've heard those words before. Employers are like, I want to do whatever it takes to help them and their family out. What can we do? Where can we start? So in these situations, as you do, Mel, we start the analysis from where, are they from? How did they enter the United States and when did they last enter, right? So those questions are so important because it will tell us what type of options are going to be available. So first thing is if somebody's already here and they've overstayed, or they've entered without inspection, which means that they're precluded from almost most immigration benefits because of that initial violation, right, caused by the mode of entry. So, as in family law, it also extends to the business side where our options are limited, or like we have this list, right? We have this ABC soup list of, visas, and then we're like shortened to very few options, right? So the only context I could possibly see an employer in that situation sponsoring or through employment-based sponsorship helping give immigration benefits to somebody who's already had an immigration violation is if there's comprehensive immigration reform, right? There's amnesty or something that, the last time there was an amnesty here of that type was it sunsetted in 2001.
Ooh.
So what, that's 23 years ago. So we're kind of due for that. And it's not one where it's like, oh yeah, you get a mulligan and you get a clean slate. It's more like, okay, so according to the current laws, these violations pose as an impediment to you moving forward in the process. You're still going to need all the sponsorships and the employer is going to have to do all of the things that they need to do for any other case, regardless of the immigration status of the foreign national, right? They're going to still have to test the labor market. They're still going to have to offer the job to willing and able U.S. workers first before they're granted permission by the Department of Labor to sponsor this foreign national for this permanent job. They're going to have to show that they have the ability to pay this salary so that they're not adding another quote unquote burden to the US economy, but in fact, the employer saying, look, I have the means to pay this person this salary that was set by the Department of Labor, not something that I want to take advantage and pay because this person needs something from me. It has, the checks and balances so that it not only protects the employer, it protects the foreign national, but it also protects the US labor market because that's the mission of the Department of Labor and they're involved in that employer-sponsored green card process. So after all of those hoops are, we jump through all those hoops, we have the final step, which is when the foreign national is able to apply for the green card and they can't. And this is where we look at issues like admissibility, right? And because of their initial mode of entry and the immigration violations, they're not able to. So if they have a qualifying relative, just like in the family-based world or the family-based side, they may be eligible for waivers, which means that they have to apply for the
Hmm.
waiver and then exit the US and then apply,
And then come
finish out the
back.
process. Right, exactly. So, I mean, that's a very long
Yeah.
and arduous process. And there's like a very small percentage that may be eligible for that benefit. But if not, then it's really difficult because it's, finding someone willing and able to do that, see through it through the long haul, right?
Hmm.
And at the end, has successfully be able to get the benefit that we're also, working hard to apply for. But
Right.
before I move on, I wanted to kind of talk about, that's like the permanent side where we're looking for green card,
Okay.
right? But I think, before when for me at least in my world, I always strategize two tracks for my clients, right? When they're like, okay, I want to come and I want to do this for my business. We'll just say somebody who's an entrepreneur and they want to have a business. We look at it twofold. One is the non-immigrant side, which is going to be the more immediate effect, where they're going to be able to
Well, okay. Hold on
come.
one second, Elizabeth. Hold on
Yeah,
one second before we get into that, because I know where you're going with that. Um,
yeah.
but let's let's go back real quick because obviously we were talking about amnesty and immigration reform type of
Mhm.
things, okay? And of course, as we know that, we've got the election coming up and all of that, and everything is kind of up in the air. Immigration is already up in the air. The Biden, parole in place program that we have right now is on hold and up in the air. Um, but it would mean so much to the world if we could get this type of legislation in place, right? If we could do this, some sort of amnesty, you know what I'm saying? And this is, and you guys, of course, let me not get on my soapbox, but this is one of the reasons why I go out and vote. Okay, people,
Right.
just please go out and vote because there is so much writing on this that it's ridiculous. Okay.
Yeah.
And like Elizabeth said, we have so many immigrants here in the US that are hardworking, that employers want to employ because they see they're hardworking, they want to strive, they want to do for their family and things like that. Unfortunately, not all of us here in America are like that because, heck, I've been trying to hire people for my firm and that's like, whew, pulling
Yeah.
teeth because people don't want to work. But anyways, I digress. So that is why it's so important for these laws and rules and legislation and things like that to be passed to be able to help because in the long run, what people aren't seeing is how much more this could benefit the US, right? Like if
Right.
if they could get green cards and they could legitimately work and things like that, how that would benefit an employer, you know, being
Right.
able to be, successfully strive, in his business and grow and things like that, as well as adding to the economy. What are your thoughts on that?
Right. So yeah, so I kind of got sidetracked. So with the amnesty, what it did was it removed the barrier
Mm-hmm.
for the foreign national to continue in the process. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not like we're great, we're like Oprah giving away green cards, right, to
Right.
everyone,
Exactly.
right? You
You
get
get
a
a green
green
card. You
card,
get a
you
green
get a
card.
green
Everybody
card.
gets it. Right.
Yeah. No, everyone's going through the steps. In fact, for the previous one, they paid a fine, right? Everyone who fell into that category paid a fine, which added revenue to the USCIS, right? And through that fine, they were able to, remove the impediment, the unlawful entry,
Mm-hmm.
right? Inability to maintain status, right? Which are the two largest ones, right?
Yep.
To proceed into the process, the background checks, the strenuous interview to make sure the job is bona fide, that no one's trying to cheat the system. All of it stayed in place. In
Right.
fact, I feel
Everything
like
still
these
stayed the
cases were
same. We still
scrutinized.
right? We still
Yeah,
had our
absolutely.
strict requirements. We still had everything that you had to
Yes,
meet on this level in order to proceed.
right.
Nice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I think, I think the misconception and I think the oversimplification when it comes to immigration topics is that, oh yeah, we're just trying to give people a free pass. No, that's not how it works. And it's not instantaneous. You and I both know anything that we do when it comes to immigration, whether it be with USCIS or whether it be with immigration court or even the Department of State, it's never instantaneous, right? There's a process, right? Even if we follow all the rules and get everything right, sometimes there's human error, there's technological glitches that create delays and frustrations. But people, have the fortitude to kind of stay through it because this is very important to them. Not only to have status, in the United States, but what that means for their future, right?
Hmm.
What they can do. What can you do when your roots, right, are planted firmly? Like how big can you grow, right? And
Right.
how much can you flourish as opposed to when, you're like, okay, am I gonna invest all this money into this business, have businesses, and then get kicked out of the country and I can't take it with me, right? There's lots of entrepreneurs who are extremely successful, right? Who are still in the shadows because of this very reason.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it doesn't make sense because they're employers, they pay taxes, they give US people jobs, right? Jobs that, people are all, like always complain. It just depends on which side you're on, right?
Yeah,
Oh, there are not enough jobs. Well, you need more employers who are willing to create jobs. Take that risk and start that business so that we can create more job options, not even just jobs, but job options for you, right?
I love
So
that.
it's
Yeah,
not about taking, it's more about, what are they reinvesting? But we have to give them something in return, which is the security that their investment isn't going to go to waste. It's not going to get
exactly.
taken away from them. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. That's really well put. Okay, so now let's switch gears. Okay, let's talk about when you are a foreign national, you live outside the country, so you haven't been to the U.S., or if you have been to the U.S., you've been here on a visitor's visa, you've been here, legally with status, back and forth, this and the other, but your main, you
Mm.
live out the country, and you want to create a business, you want to invest in the US, you want to bring your funds and money to the US. Um, what does that look like?
So, I mean, there's a couple of visa options, right? So when now we're back to my happy space, which is talking about non-immigrant visas versus, the permit, the immigrant visas, which is the green card, right? So, as I got on my soapbox and talked about like visa, the difference between visa and status, right? So once are a foreign national, you're like, hey, I came to the US to visit family or to, talk to some friends from college or whatever. And I realized, I want to expand my business. I already have an existing business in my home country, but I wouldn't mind investing in something else that could be totally unrelated to the business that I'm doing at home. Or it could be related and I could open a branch office, a subsidiary, right? That's more like corporate business law lingo. And I'm like, you know what? I want to come into the US market, right? There's a visa option for that, right? Typically, if you have a foreign business, right, and we can establish common ownership with a U.S. Business enterprise, you may be eligible for what is called a L visa. Okay, so L visas come in two flavors, the L1A and the L1B. So the L1A is for multinational executives or managers. Okay, so that means you can't just give yourself the title, I'm the manager or I'm an executive. You have to, be one in the sense that, you transact the duties, right, of
Mhm.
that position and you have the infrastructure to justify that position. And then the L1B is for people with specialized knowledge, like, typically like engineers or people who know your product very intimately. And it wouldn't just make sense for you to come and train a whole new workforce. It makes more sense for you to bring your guy who
Mhm.
knows your stuff from your, headquarters or whatever abroad to the US market. So they come with, a lot of benefits, meaning, the L visa is one of two dual intent visas, which means having the desire to seek permanent residency doesn't automatically disqualify you from, being eligible for that. But the flip side of it is there's time limits, right? The maximum you can have an L1A is 7 years, and the maximum you can have an L1B is 5. So I think, the theory is, well, you know what, if you're this great, we want you to pursue permanent residency, so just hurry up and do it. So we're going to give you 7 years and 5 years. So within that time, it should be enough time for you to, obtain permanent residency, right? So the
Nice.
L is a really great option, yeah, for people
So
who have businesses abroad.
that's like, so it's almost like what you're explaining is it's almost so it's like temporary to begin with. So it's you
Yes.
bring your business over,
It
you
is temporary.
establish your branch of your business here in the US. It's temporary. You have a certain amount of years that you get to be here and employ and do this and everything.
Right.
But within that time frame, the government is allowing you to proceed or process to be permanent. And that means get an actual
Right.
green card to be able to live, work, stay in the US and not have to leave if
Mhm.
you don't want to. correct?
Right,
Okay.
right. So the way I view, in the context of, business immigration, especially, the way I view it and the way a lot of my clients view it is this. One is, yes, everyone wants that American dream, like they want a way to come to the United States, lay roots, stay here, have their children grow up here, go to school and all that good stuff, right? It's still there. But the way I see it from a business, like an entrepreneur's perspective, is the non-immigrant visa has a lot of rules, has, compliance. You have to follow the rules, otherwise you're going to lose your visa, right? And your business is at stake, right? It's one thing to just have to leave, but then you got to leave all your stuff here and your money and all the, things that you invested in, that makes it somewhat, the stakes a little bit different, right? Than in the
Right.
family context. So the non-immigrant visa, it's meant, like you said, meant to be temporary, but it has a lot of rules to keep you in compliance. The permanent residency through the business, immigration route, to me, is a way to get freedom. You can still do your business. Nothing in the business will change, except you won't be encumbered by all the rules and regulations of the non-immigrant visa. So it's basically, when you come on the non-immigrant visa, you're kind of like tethered to something, right? You're kind of restricted because of what you can and cannot do. A lot of work visas are, specific to the job, specific to an employer, specific to a location, right? It's very restricted. And then when you get your permanent residency, you can do whatever you want. You don't even have to do the same job, right? You can, do something else, right? So it kind of, gives you
You've got that
unrestricted
freedom.
ability. Exactly. And, and to business, I think owners or entrepreneurial people, the freedom to be creative, I think is huge. And
Yeah.
that's how I kind of perceive it, rather than something like, yes, this is my American dream. I'm going to lay. That's great. That's all comes with it, right? That's all, and everyone's motivations are different. But for my business clients, it's usually like, okay, I don't want to have to keep going to the embassy, getting my visa renewed so that I could travel in and out of the US. I need to be able to go when I need to go and not worry about when I can come back or if I can come back,
Right.
right?
Right.
So it's permanent residency that's going to give them that freedom, in my opinion, right?
Okay.
And
That
then
makes
all the
sense.
other good things will flow.
Right.
So the L is one of them where, it's one of the more desirable ones, because for an L1A, you can apply for a green card without having to go through the Department of Labor step.
Hmm.
Right. So, if you want to know more about it, give me a call. I'm happy to explain it to you, but we don't have enough time.
Right, because this is her sweet spot,
But
and she can
yeah,
get on and start talking, talking, talking,
exactly.
talking,
I
talking.
can, yes, I can go
Okay.
on forever. The L1B requires the Department of Labor step. So it's kind of, the benefits of each type is different.
Right.
Another one that I want to talk about a lot that is being used more heavily now is the E visa, right? So E
Yes.
also comes with the E1 and the E2 for investors, right? So E1 is for substantial trade, and then the E2 is for investor. But the
Hmm.
E visa is restricted to citizens of countries that have a treaty with the United States.
Right.
And
So
if
it's
you
only
Google
specific
E2,
countries, yep, where you can,
yeah,
okay, yep. Okay.
exactly. So
All
not
right.
everyone in the world is represented. So depending on, where you have a passport from. So because,
Hmm.
some of my clients have dual citizenship. One country may be an E2 country and the other might not be. So,
Hmm.
they leverage that. It's, in business, we're always taught to leverage, right? What
Right.
can we leverage, right? In furtherance of our goals. And, a lot of my investor clients leverage their citizenship or their ability to have multiple citizenships,
Hmm.
to their advantage, especially when it comes to procuring non-immigrant visas to the United States.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. It's always good to have dual citizenship. Um, okay, let's talk about the big one. Okay, let's talk about the
Yeah.
EB5, the one where you
Okay.
bring a chunk of money that you've got
Yeah.
out of the
Yeah.
US and you're bringing it to the US, and you have to create so many numbers of jobs and do this for so many years and things like that. But for people that have this money, like it's a huge opportunity for them, because they also can get a green card from this, right?
Absolutely. So the EB5 is not a non-immigrant visa. So it's a pathway to an immigrant visa, which means you go straight to the green card.
Right.
So this scenario, I mean, let me just go over the numbers because even if, right, we have lots of wealthy clients and people with lots of assets, right, that they've accumulated over the years or inherited or whatever their situation is. But I always start, this is where I start, right? EB5 sounds sexy. It sounds awesome,
Doesn't it
right?
though?
And no, it gives me palpitations because it's a lot of money. And then I always make sure my malpractice insurance policy, covers me. So, it's a big deal, right? And no matter like how much money you have or what you do, it's a big deal because it's a lot
Mhm.
of money, right? Especially, can you imagine converting foreign currency to the US dollar?
Exactly.
Right? So
Huge.
there's two types of EB5s. One is a direct investment where you have to operate this business, right? And you get to pick where you want to have this business or what type of business it is. And the investment threshold is $1,050,000, and you have to create 10 jobs. Okay,
Okay.
so 10 jobs for US workers, not, like foreign, like people on visas and things like that, right? So the other one is called a regional center project, where, a regional centers kind of pool resources together for a larger project. So for example, if we're building, say, like a football stadium, and it's going to cost us $350 million, they get to pool that money together with EB5 money to finance that, right? But it's never going to be 100%, right? You can't, rarely, from what I'm told, like 100% finance an EB5 project with EB5 money, right? Or sorry, a project with EB5 money. So
Okay.
the investment threshold for those is 800,000. Okay. And then, so what happens is you become like like a limited partner and, and it's a whole securities project. So all the contracts, all of that will be there. And this is not FDIC insured money, people, right? Your money is at risk, just as if you've invested in something else, right? So that
Okay, so this
means
is like multiple people coming in together on a project. Okay.
yeah, they were
Okay.
pooling the
Yep.
money together. So
Okay.
you can lose money, you lose
Mm-hmm.
this money,
Right.
or you can, make profit, right? Like have your money work for you and you can make, profit on that.
Mm-hmm.
With I mean, right now, I feel like there's more demand for the regional center projects because there was, last couple of years, some reforms that happened in the EB5 world because it was very shady, for lack of a better
Yeah.
word. As an
Yeah, it
attorney, I'm like, I
sounds
don't know
like
how that
it.
comes
It,
across
it
things.
could be.
Yeah,
Right.
because I mean, it's a lot of money, and I think it tempted a lot of people not to do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
So to kind of, and it hurt people. That's the most important part, right? It hurt
Right.
people, and people were taken advantage of, right? So they, instilled like, some reforms where, it's very tightly regulated, right? So, there's a lot of more compliance in play here. But what these projects are doing is they're contributing to the growth or the build out of infrastructure in the United States, creating business and commerce opportunities, and perhaps most importantly, jobs, right? And because of that, there's a period that you need to keep your money invested. It's not like, oh, regional center, I'm going to lend you my $800,000, and once I get my green card, bye, give my money back. That's not how it works because just like a marriage-based case where the couple has been married less than 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
the foreign national gets a conditional green card, right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
only good for 2 years. And then before that, you've got to apply for a removal of conditions, right? To show that you have to go through that process again. Similarly, in the EB5 context, you get a conditional green card, and then there is a removal of conditions step, right?
I
Which
did not
probably, in
know
my
that.
opinion,
That's
is just as
interesting.
important.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because they
because,
want to
and the
make sure
point
that
is
you're
this,
still in it, right? They want to make sure that you're still in this
right?
pooled fund, project to win it, basically. Just like I always tell my marriage
Well,
people,
can
they want to
you,
make sure that you're in this to win
yeah,
it.
yes, yes. And can you imagine though, like if, all of these, foreign nationals just boom, invested all this money into the US economy, and maybe 2 to 3 years later, they woof, pulled it out,
Right. That
right?
would
Because
be
they got their green card,
huge
right?
detriment, right, to
What would
us.
that do to our economy? Exactly,
Exactly.
exactly. So to prevent that from happening,
Hmm.
there's that, removal of condition stage where you have to demonstrate that you kept your funds invested, as
Mm-hmm.
well as, the creation of the job count, right? That you satisfy those requirements so that you're able to get the permanent, the 10-year green card,
Right.
right?
That makes
So
sense.
well, that comes down to is the first thing I ask is, okay, yeah, I got the money. Okay, great. Again, I'll ask, how did you get, like, where's this money coming from?
Right. Where did
Right?
this
Because
money come from?
source and
Because we're
path
gonna
of
need to
funds is
source
important.
it.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna need to, yeah, do that with, a lot of scrutiny. But they're like, okay, I have business, I have real estate, great. Okay. Now can you part with that money for about 5 to 6 years and
Ooh,
be okay
yeah.
with that? Okay.
Because
Ah,
people
why
have to
so
think about
long? And then
that.
I
Right.
explain why,
Right.
right? And then I'm like, number two, your ROI on investing that money is not going to be that high. But why? If I put it in the, stock market, if I buy a business, well, what the ROI that you're foregoing investing in this project versus whatever else thing that you can do to make money off of this, this 800,000, for example, is the price you're paying for a direct path to a green card. That's how I
Right.
see it. Because if
Yes.
you can't, if you can't see it that way, the EB-5 is not the right product for you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how much money you have. If you cannot see it that way, then it's not going to be one that is going to be fulfilling for you in any sense of the word,
Right.
right? The whole process is just going to be, a pain for you. It's going to be painful for me. So we really have to, from the get-go, like manage expectations and be very clear the purpose and the intent behind
Mm-hmm.
the utilization of your $800,000 for getting the green card, right?
That makes sense. Yeah. Because
So
I get people
in
and they're
my
like,
opinion,
they'll call me and they'll be like, well, but I have this money and I want to, invest it in the US, or I want to da 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 da, or we're here in the US and we're trying to figure out how to pull our money, from whatever, Canada, and bring it over and this and I'm
yeah,
like, it's not that simple. Like, you know,
right,
it's not just,
right,
oh, I got this
right,
money and I want to, give it to you guys so we can
yeah.
stay.
Well, no, we'll take it,
I know.
but,
Right.
but, right, you have to be willing to let us have it for a certain period of
Mm-hmm.
time and
Yep.
understand that, there's going to be other investment options that might be more fruitful, that might be
Mm-hmm.
more profitable, but you're going to have to forego that, right? So to someone who's like, yeah, this is my whole life savings. I worked since I was 20 and I built this and I'm going to do the EB-5 for me and my family. Great, right? I want to help you do that, but I also want to help you understand that if you don't have any other source of income, or if you're going to be like laying awake at night thinking, oh my God, my
Where's my
money,
money? Right.
then this may not be worth it for you, right? It
Right.
may not be worth it for you. And that is no, like, I don't mean any disrespect. I want you to be comfortable in the decision that you make. And my job isn't to, be the hero and save the day and say, yeah, I got you your green card. My job is to lead you to the path, right, of what, outcome you're looking for. But, the experience is also important, right?
Exactly, exactly.
So,
And that's one of the
yeah,
things, or one of the reasons why I love having you on the show, and I love having some other attorneys that I have on the show because, and I think probably at the end of the day, I mean, I handpick, but I handpick because of those type of things, because of the ethics and because of the
yeah,
knowledge and stuff like that. Because at the end of the day, you could be like, oh yeah, I'll take your money, and we're, this is what you can do, and this, that, and the
yeah,
other. They would be ecstatic, so happy, and then it's like, oh, but wait a minute, I forgot to tell you, come, let's talk in
mm,
6 years, and see how things are going,
yeah,
that type of thing.
yeah,
So, but
exactly.
that is what I always love. Now, that's, you explained that was like the regional center type of scenario, but you said the
Hmm.
1,050,000 is like you're
Hmm.
bringing your money and you're actually coming and creating your own corporation or
Own
business that
business,
you
yes. A
have
new
to run.
Right,
Okay.
it's called a new commercial enterprise. So
Okay.
generally, what I've seen in the past, not my cases or my
Hmm.
clients, but you have like not all businesses are conducive to an EB-5, direct investment EB-5, in my
Hmm.
opinion. I
Okay.
think businesses that are labor intensive are going to naturally create those 10 jobs,
Hmm.
right? Can you imagine? Okay, I'm going to spend 1,050,000 or invest 1,050,000 into a business enterprise so that I can get my green card. Great. But not only do I have to spend this money and get the business up and running and all that, I have to create and maintain 10 jobs, 10, the
Mm-hmm.
equivalent of 10, I think, full-time jobs, right? So, but then I'm like, I can go really lean in my business and I could outsource, I could use contractors, I could do this and really, improve my profit margin.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to create
10
10
jobs though.
jobs,
10
which
jobs,
will
like not
force
contract jobs,
you.
right?
Right. That will
Okay.
force you not to, see that flexibility in the way to run your business, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to have that at
Okay.
least until you get your permanent green card removal conditions,
Mm-hmm.
after that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So even from the get-go, if you have to do that, then this might not be the right product for you. This is where a lot of people experience hardship
Mm-hmm.
because they have to keep jobs that are not profitable for the business for the sake of the green card,
Mm.
right?
Right.
I know of, businesses where they are like burning through money to satisfy that requirement because they haven't received the removal of conditions yet,
Right.
right?
So they have to think
So
about
as a
what is their
business,
actual end goal. Like, what is your ultimate
right?
end goal? Because if in your mind your end goal is not, what I'm saying, to wait this out
Yeah,
to get your green card, then
right,
it's not a great idea. I mean, it sounds like a great idea on the surface,
right.
but there's still things that you have to go through.
Right.
Yeah.
There's lots of yeah. So that it depends on your tolerance level, like what
Right.
you want, right?
Right.
So sometimes I say, hey, in an ideal world, if you want to do your own business and do all that, do it. Do it with an E2,
Mm-hmm.
right? You can do it with an well, depending on where you're from,
Right.
just assuming that you're from an E2 treaty country, do that with your E2,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then do the EB5, the regional center, dump $800,000 into a project, let
Mm-hmm.
that work in the background, right?
Mm-hmm.
And go in parallel, right? And then eventually when you get the green card, just drop the E2. You still have your business, you still have the time that you've invested in building and running that business, making profit, hiring employees, doing all of that, then that's like the best of both worlds. Now, who has that, kind of, if I had $1 million, right, 1,050,000 to do this, and I'm like, okay, I got 1,050,000 and I want to come here to the US and start making money, hit the ground running, but I also want a safe way, like, to get my green card.
Mm-hmm.
I would take the 1,050,000, put 800,000 into the regional center for my green card, and then the rest of it I would invest and start up a business.
Oh my
That's
gosh,
what
that
I would
makes
do.
so much,
Elizabeth
but that
G, not the, yeah.
yes, that's what Elizabeth G would do. But it makes so much
Yeah, that's what
sense.
I would do.
And everyone, this is why you need attorneys, okay? This is why you have to
Yeah,
consult with attorneys, whether it be us, immigration attorneys, because it's immigration, or whether it be, I don't know, criminal attorneys because you got a criminal case. You know, this is this is the necessity right there, because
yeah,
you would have never thought, what I'm saying? You're not going to think about this on your own, people. Okay. You need that knowledge and expertise. She just told you, like, there's a way that we can do this together with these certain types of visas and take one off and move one away and everything like that. Strategy is huge, 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 huge.
yeah,
And that is
I
what you
agree.
pay for, you guys, when you consult with
Yes.
an attorney. It's strategy. Stop thinking that, we're just coming and trying to take your money and we don't want to talk to you and this, that, and the other. But that's brain work. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're getting our
Yeah.
brains, because that right there was huge. I didn't know none of that. I learned so much today. Um,
Oh, I'm
okay.
so glad.
I did. It's awesome. And that's what I just want. I love doing this show. I love when I'm even doing social media and things like that. Because it's just putting the information out there, giving people, information and education, and knowledge, because there's so much that's a misconception. There's so much that people think that's so easy, oh, it's easy breezy. It's no big deal. I can do this. I can do that. And it's really, no, it's all about strategy. It's all about, no, there's a right way and a
Yeah.
wrong way to do this. And you definitely need to reach out, in order to do that. Um, so I think we hit the biggest ones, right? We hit the L's, we hit the
Yes, we
E's, we
did.
hit the EBs. And those are like the biggest ones when
Hmm.
it comes to business, employment, immigration. Um,
Well,
I
there's
love it.
one more.
Yeah.
that I haven't really gone into because it's still very murky, meaning
Ooh, okay.
there's not a lot of people who have gotten positive like results from it, and it's
Okay.
what is it called? The entrepreneur parole.
Ooh,
So
okay.
it's parole. It's not a visa,
Oh, okay. So
right?
it's like a temporary thing. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Interesting.
parole. So that means people who are undocumented, even people who are undocumented,
Hmm.
can obtain, the benefits of a parole,
Hmm.
right? But it's not, just like, like DACA or something. It's
Hmm.
not
It's not going to lead
status,
to a pathway to,
right? Right,
green card
right,
and citizenship and all of that.
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like
And
a
lots of
temporary
things with,
band-aid.
it's a temporary, yeah, I feel like it's a temporary band-aid to encourage entrepreneurship, which is good. But at
Right.
the same time, I'm like, if I'm going to put my money into it, I'd want something a little bit more permanent, right? Something
Exactly.
more concrete, right?
Stable.
So like, let
Right.
me, stable, right?
Yep.
Where I can kind of hang my hat on it. Something interesting that, like that I, heard of when, back when I was working for a much larger firm was we had an individual who had DACA since she was like 12 or something,
Mhm.
or since she was very young. And she, worked her ass off, got into good college. Oh, can I say that word? Sorry.
You're
Um,
fine.
sorry. Oh, okay. And then got hired at one of the big tech companies,
Mm,
right? And she was selected in the lottery for an H-1B, which is a work visa.
mhm,
And because she had DACA, there was no way to change her status in the United States to assume the H-1B,
mhm.
right? So she, we filed it as consular processing, which means the petition part of it is approved, and then with that, she's going to go to the embassy abroad and get the visa and come back. And that's exactly what she did.
Wow.
So she went to her home country, got the visa, came back. Guess what? She's not DACA anymore. She came with H-1B, right?
Right.
The same employer is able to pursue an employer-sponsored green card case for her, and she can obtain permanent residency that way,
Nice.
right? So
Nice.
despite all the years because when she came, she was a child,
Right.
right? Got DACA before she turned 18,
Yep.
right? So no accrual of unlawful presence,
Hmm.
right? So, I mean, and as you were saying, like strategy, right?
Yeah.
Like there was a team of people who were like, okay, can this be done? Has this been done? Can we do some research behind it before we even advise the client that this is what we were thinking of
Hmm.
for her, right? So and then we realized like before, right, many years ago, we're like, oh, the DACA kids, whatever. Those folks are in their 30s now.
Yeah.
They're not kids anymore,
No.
right? They have full-blown careers and families. So, you need somebody who can help strategize and look at, and honestly, and you and I, we always do this. If we're not sure, we say that we're not sure and we ask someone else,
Yep.
right? We
Absolutely.
ask someone that we respect, that we view as an expert, because at the end of the day, there's no room for our ego in this
Hmm.
conversation, right? My
Right.
job is to, again, guide you to your happy ending, right? And
Okay.
to do that, if I don't have all the information, I need to go get it because I know probably better than you where to get it, right? I'm not going to
Exactly.
fall victim to some AI telling me this, saying this is legal advice, or, some, unlicensed person pretending to be a lawyer giving out, advice on social media. I'm going
Right.
to know how to discern information that is going to ultimately help you rather than hurt you. So,
Exactly. So, because Google
yeah,
isn't always your friend, people. Google's not always your friend.
no.
Please, please.
No, no.
Okay,
That's
well,
true. That is
we
true.
are at almost the top of the hour. What I want you to do, Elizabeth, is I want you to give a shout out to yourself. Let the audience know where's your
Okay.
office, how they can reach you, what your social media platforms are, telephone number, website, give them all that good juicy stuff.
Awesome. Thank you. You can find us on our website, www.myglaw.com. So myjilaw.com. Unfortunately, I'm so like bad at social media. I don't know what the different handles are, but I'm sure if you Google Elizabeth G, you'll see something. I know
She
I'm on
is, you guys,
LinkedIn.
she
We're
is
on
on Facebook.
Instagram.
She is on LinkedIn.
Yes.
She is on Facebook. She is on IG. So yeah.
Yeah,
Look up
but I like
Elizabeth
it when
G,
you
J.I.
call. Yeah, when you call and we can have an appointment and, and discuss, this matter, with the respect that it deserves because it's very important
Absolutely.
to,
What's your
to
telephone number?
you and it's also very important to me. Oh, my phone number is 404-947-8048.
Okay, say it one more time.
404-947-8048.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on.
Thank
This
you.
is great information. Like I said, people need to know, like, hey, you can bring your money to the US, you can invest in the US, you can help the
Mhm.
economy, you can get jobs, you can create businesses, all of that type of stuff. It's not like, you're just coming and taking and taking and taking with the, which is the big
Mm-mm.
misconception. So I thought this was a very important topic to put out there to the universe. And especially now, of course, because like I said, I keep going back to
Yeah,
we got election going on. There's going to be a lot of changes. There's going to be a lot of crud stuff going on.
yeah,
And, you need to get out there. You need to vote. You need to have, a say in, what happens in the world and all of that so that we can,
absolutely.
you know, so that we can make immigration not a bad word. Okay, because I think it's a
Right.
bad word and immigrants get a bad rap. So I am attorney
Hmm.
Mel LaGrone. As you all know, well, I don't even know if my website is www.lagronelaw.com. I am also on all social media at LaGrone Law. I think my IG is at Mel LaGrone ESQ. And then you can also find me on TikTok as well. And my telephone number here in the States is 678-250-5449. Again, that's 678-250-5449. And I want to thank you all for watching all the time and supporting WCEG Network. And just don't forget, like and follow and share and do everything so that we can keep putting the word out there in the community for everyone. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.